I would like to discuss the changes or the differences between the body, the mind, and the ego. These three have three different ways of operating, three different ways of just experiencing and moving through life. So these three are change, cardinal, and stagnant. The body is constantly changing. The body is constantly renewing every single cell of the body, building new cells, breaking down all dying cells, repairing the body constantly. Change. The mind is a little bit more restrictive there. It has programs running. So the concept of the mind, we have to acknowledge that the mind is always trying to make everything automatic. So for the mind to go through something, it's trying to repeat the process enough times for it to be convinced that this is a fact. And as it is a fact and safe, it stores that in a hardwired program in the mind. So that the conscious mind, that 5% of the conscious mind, has freedom to deal with the present moment. Also to have freedom to deal with retrieving information from the subconscious and unconscious mind. So the mind can change, the mind can be rewired, but it takes time. It takes time to go back to that program, bring that into the consciousness, and create a new pathway. But if we have walked or chosen this path, this first pathway in the mind, and that program has run for 30 years, every single day, unknowingly, please do not expect for you to choose a different pathway and create a new program in your mind. Do it once, and then that should be sufficient and enough for your mind to choose the new program. On the third level, we have the ego. The ego is stagnant. The ego cannot change. This is something that not a lot of people are aware of. The stagnant ego can be seen as a representation of the phoenix. It has to die off in order to change. It takes the information from the body and from the mind, correlates those two, and it gets awoken, or it rises from its own ashes and it's reborn just like the phoenix. So that's the difference between the body, the mind, and the ego. And that's why so many people, the ego does not want to die off. It does not have the satisfaction, it does not have the concrete knowing that if it dies off now, that it will be reborn. So a lot of people talk about ego deaths. I'm not a big fan to talk about ego deaths because I'm not trying to kill off my ego. I'm here to love my ego and lovingly support it through the process of holding its hand and saying, I'm here. I'm here with you. I will be here when you are here or not here. I'm still here. I'm with you through this. But for you to be of best service for me, here's new information. And this information supports how you can be of service to me even better. That's all the mind wants. That's all the ego wants. So lovingly holding wherever your ego and your mind is at, please know that they are here to be of service. Constantly asking, what do I do about it? How do I respond to this? What is the best way? That's why every single person is always the best and optimal version in every single moment. Because the ego and the mind can simply not operate at a level of not choosing or not being the best version of themselves. But the ego has to die off. It's a natural process. The ego is scared shitless when this happens. But if it has enough evidence that it can be of better service, it has to change its program. It has to change the way that it is. Understand the difference between these, and that you are neither one of them, not the body, the mind, or the ego. Or you are not only them, you are beyond them. You are that which knows them. And see how your problems simply dissolve. A desirable life free from that. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you are going to have a life with no suffering and no pain, because that in itself will rob you from the unique experience and story that you came here to exist and experience. There will still be pain. There will still be suffering if you choose that, or if it's in your favor. But you will no longer feel trapped and held back. You will be in a new relationship to whatever shows up in your life. Thanks for listening.